And welcome.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for having me. I truly appreciate you inviting me here to speak in front of you and with you. My name again is Nickolas Wildstar, and I am a Libertarian candidate running for governor of California. I also ran in 2014 for governor, so this is actually my second time running for governor. First time running as a libertarian, though. I guess I was a little L libertarian, what you guys would call for about 8 years or so. I got involved in the liberty movement around 2010 when Dr. Ron Paul was running for president. I got very involved in his political campaign and pretty much opened my eyes to the way our government truly is supposed to operate. And he found a way to just simplify libertarianism in a way to where it, again, awakened me to the tyrannical ways that our government performs and pretty much inspired me to run for office myself. I actually, and like Mike said, got involved in music. I moved out here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to pursue a career in music, and independently was able to release an album that I have available on Amazon, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, all that good stuff. I also was able to land one of my songs in the movie Scary Movie 4. And I did this all off of an independent pursuit, me, myself. And pretty much am still using my talents as a musician to connect with the people and let them get to know their candidate in an entertaining way. I just released an album which is available online right now to the public on Spotify, so of course you're welcome to tell your friends about that. And I got involved in the music industry because of course I was hoping to become a superstar and that didn't happen, so I had to get real at a point and went to school for recording engineering and pretty much started to shape my craft on the technological side. But as the music industry proved, it's all about who you know. A majority of life and everything when it comes to pursuits and career goals boils down to who you know. So I learned that fairly quickly moving here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So with the industry being all about who you know, thankfully I wasn't one of those starving artists. I was a working class citizen and have been for the past 20 years or so. For the past few years, I worked in at a financial advisory firm, pretty much doing debt consolidation as a junior closer. And before that, I had worked as a supervisor for a pharmaceutical company. So the majority of my professional experience has been with working with the public one-on-one and helping them with their issues, with their problems, various problems, whether it be financial issues or social issues. So I definitely, again, have tons of experience working with the public. And these are all qualities that I think would definitely make me a greater spokesman when it comes to the message of liberty and being able to communicate that to the masses. I really feel like the message of liberty falls upon deaf ears when speaking to them because they don't really make the correlation of how it relates to their day-to-day lives. The word itself tends to become diluted so much to where we as Americans have become comfortable with our liberties being converted to privileges. It's now a privilege to live in America. It's now a privilege to be an American. We shouldn't be privileged to do so. It definitely is, again, our inherent right to be proud of who we are and where we are, and our pride of who we are should make being an American an honor. That is what should be the present that we bring to this country. As said by our previous presidents, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And in honor of President's Day, I'd like to talk a little bit about our presidents and their desires of our country, because I feel as if we've gotten away from the true desires of what our forefathers wanted. They pretty much started a revolution based on revolt against control. And we still see that happening to this day, even on a grassroots level where we go out into the community. You have the homeless community fighting to get housing. In Orange County, where I live, the riverbed, they're starting a process tomorrow to usher out the 600 plus homeless people by ushering them out of the riverbed and hopefully getting them into hotels. But this is a matter of taxpayers' money that's going to be spent on the project, not to mention it's going to be a short-term solution to a long-term problem. So it's terrible that we as Americans have again gotten so comfortable with allowing government to be so controlling as it is. And even then, the revolution began off of taxation. And here we are now in California where we have some of the highest taxes in the entire nation, yet we don't see the public being up in arms or being upset about it or expressing that amount of resentment. Instead, there's complacency, and in exchange for that, we are now giving up our rights, our freedoms, and our liberty. And the first and foremost liberty that you're giving up is your right to take home all of your property, all of your income from your personal, from your paycheck. Like Bruce was saying, we are one of the highest taxes for income in the entire state, our entire nation. It's 13%. So a person making $100,000 is taking home, or the government is taking 13% to 20% of their income. So it's just horrible that, again, here in a country where we wanted to fight against an authority taking away people's property before they had an opportunity to choose what to do with it themselves is now being stripped away from us. As you can see, I'm a black man. And in our country, slavery had started around the 1500s and had existed for 200 years before the 1776 revolution. And in those documents, in those historical documents, even though there was still slavery in this country, our forefathers put in writing that every man is created equal. They knew this, and they wanted to change people's hearts and minds. They wanted to change culture, and that's what it was all about, the American dream. But they also knew that they couldn't do this by force. So they couldn't go into these territories where slavery was prevalent and force the landowners to free the people. Because again, you can't force people to take on the ideology of allowing freedom and liberty to exist for everyone. So putting those ideas into writing is what started this country, but it took brave men to actually act on those words and bring those words to life to make it come about to what we have now, to where we are all sitting in a restaurant peacefully and there isn't signs saying, we have to be separated from one another, and I can walk down the street without being harassed or lynched or, so we've come a long way as a society. But how much further are we when it comes to our freedom and our liberty? How much has been compromised and lost? Do we feel like we live in a free country? And I would have to object to that. With my own personal experiences, about 3 or 4 years ago, my wife and I, we were traveling to work in Laguna Beach, and I was pulled over for not having a tail light, or for having a tail light out. So the officer asked me, pretty much informed me of this, and I asked him, am I okay to go? He said, sure, that's fine. I'm not gonna ticket you or anything. You'd be free to go. First, can I see your ID? So this is typically done, and it's a practice of law enforcement, only especially with people of color, as a profiling technique to see if that individual has warrants for their arrest, etc., etc. I knew this. I did not have any warrants. And because the officer said he wasn't going to ticket me for the tail light being out, I felt I was at liberty to leave. And I expressed that to him, that I had the right to refuse, to which he pretty much denied, and asked for my wife's driver's license, even though she was the passenger, and started interrogating people in the vehicle. And I informed him that according to the 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which he swore to uphold, I have the right to be secure in my persons and my property, which is me, myself, my body, as well as my vehicle. And he, of course, denied this in an expression of his authority, and demanded I show him. And I went to show it to him, and what turned into a small traffic citation turned into my wife and I being assaulted by up to 6 police officers. They called multiple units. We were yanked out of the car, hauled off to jail, and had to fight criminal charges for resisting arrest and et cetera, et cetera. So we were made criminals out of a situation where there was no criminal at all. And that's exactly what's happening in our country right now. There is no more rule of law, it's just rule by law. And the enforcers of that law don't respect or protect that law themselves. So it's awful that, again, us living here in a free country are not really afforded the true freedoms that our forefathers desired for us all. And we still have to fight. We still have to bring back those liberties that we've lost. We should be able to take home all of our paycheck. We should have the right to travel without having to be issued a license to do so, and having our right to own property be charged by us either, whether it be to own a home or to own or go fishing or something like that, own a car, own a gun. You shouldn't have to ask permission from the government for anything. And we've gotten so conditioned with the way that government has started to control our lives that we've now forgotten our freedoms altogether. So what I would like to do as governor is I would love to bring back those liberties and put government back into the box where it belongs. I would love to reduce the amount of licensure and regulations in the state, of course, dramatically. And definitely, I would love to fight taxation. Taxes are getting out of control, and I would love to do that on both fronts, whether it be collection of taxes or the spending of your taxes. It should definitely be voluntary. You should not be forced to do so. And for the first 4 years of me being governor, you would get to see that in practice. I would love to also fight against crony capitalism and end the private-public partnerships that our state has with private entities like the Department of Motor Vehicles, which should not be, with the road service companies, etc. So, and I would love to also fight for your right to choose. Right now, we're being taxed, and we don't know where our money is going. They're claiming that it's going to infrastructure, and yet we have an unfinished high-speed rail system that pretty much will continue to be taxed for, and by the time it's built, will be one of the most expensive and slowest high-speed rail trains in the world. So it's pointless. They already have one running and operating in Florida simply because they allowed the free market to provide that public transportation. So government needs to get out of public transportation, stop believing that they can provide it to us, as well as every other facet of social services. It'd be medical care or education. Government has proven that it is not capable of running these institutions mindfully, respectfully, and of course, wisely when it comes to spending our money. So I would love to cut spending by 25% within my first year within office, along with reducing the state's income tax to 0%, the state's property tax to 0% as well, and leveling the state's sales tax to 7% across the board. There's certain places in the state where the sales tax is 10% or more. Yes, exactly. With this, with the new recreational marijuana bill that just passed, there's taxes in the state that range up to 23% on purchases of marijuana, and it's more than that, exactly. So again, if we could level it at 7%, that would allow the consumers to be able to purchase more goods, of course, stimulate our economy, allow people earning their income to keep more of their money and spend it where they choose. We shouldn't have to be funding government projects that go nowhere. And again, it pretty much just takes someone being honest. I am definitely exactly that. As a working class citizen, as an average American, I believe that the public will relate to me as being someone just like them. I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. I'm not an elitist. I don't have an Ivy League graduate degree or education, and the majority of the people in the state don't. The middle class are aware that the people that the career politicians that we've been keeping in place are imposters, and they are pretty much just despots wanting to keep control of their power. So it's imperative that we the people take back that power, especially now if we want to build that forefront against the line of tyranny that we know is to come. In the state of California, it's becoming more apparent than ever that we will remain under Democratic control until someone else comes along. With this new governor's race, we could have a possibility of 2 Democratic candidates going head to head. That means no Republican, that means no third-party candidate, that means no other option for the people. So it's definitely proving that in a few years, a few election cycles, will be a one-party system controlled state. And I would love to have an opportunity to rival that as a Libertarian candidate. Right now I am in need of support in order to get onto the ballot. I am not a rich man, as the Pied Piper song goes. And excuse me, because I don't have the millions of dollars to buy myself onto the ballot, I've been doing grassroots fundraising, going up and down throughout the state, pretty much meeting people face to face, introducing myself and my campaign. The majority of the donations that I've received so far that's allowed me to print up signs like this and bumper stickers and postcards, all this lovely stuff has all come from wonderful people such as yourself, giving whatever that you can. And it also has allowed me to travel throughout the state and introduce myself to other people, and has allowed the campaign to grow. I've actually gained 5 endorsements from counties from 5 Libertarian Party county affiliates by now, and am hoping to receive more over the next few weeks. I also am gaining more publicity. I just did an article for the Daily Caller that will be coming out soon, and just had an interview released by the Libertarian Vindicator. So, and I have a podcast coming up with the Lions of Liberty, who also interviewed Dr. Ron Paul, notable libertarians like Dr. Ron Paul and John McAfee, Austin Peterson, etc. So the campaign is definitely growing and expanding. And again, with your support, we'll be able to reach more people and let them know about what we're trying to achieve here. So, of course, I would love for you to visit my website, wildstar2018.com. I do have flyers here, so you're welcome to take one. And I do have bumper stickers and signs, which I am asking for donations for. If you can give me whatever you want, and you can take whatever you want. Even if you give me your name and phone number to get on my mailing list, you're welcome to take a sign and bumper sticker to help me spread the message. So, and that's what it's really all about. And that's what I would hope to that you guys would take from this meeting with me here today, is that it takes us to spread the message of liberty to one another. We can't wait on mainstream media to do so. We are the threat to the establishment. We are the ones that can overthrow the tyrannical control of the system. So in order to do so, we have to be the ones out there riding down the street, spreading the message of liberty, and again, just helping share the message to each other, word to mouth, one-to-one. If you guys could tell 3 people, tell those 3 people to tell 3 people, then it's pretty much just becomes a spreading message at that point. So I do thank you very much for your time and for listening to me. And of course, would again appreciate your support. So thank you very much. What's that?
Take some questions.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to take some questions. Bob?
Now, speaking of your encounter with the Laguna Beach police,
Yes, sir.
you will be down in Long Beach, of course, for the convention.
I will be.
Just about anybody can have an encounter with the Long Beach Harbor Police.
Right.
I had one a couple of years ago. Of course, it's it's a public area. I was walking down the public sidewalk and taking pictures of the gas storage tanks down there and ships and everything. And along comes the harbor police. Unfortunately, I was by myself, so I didn't have somebody else who could, since I was lugging around some big camera gear, I didn't have somebody else who could document this as it was going on. And they told me, first I have to show them my ID and I need a permit. What? I need a permit to walk?
A permit to take pictures?
of the beach.
Well, the harbor.
Yeah.
You need a permit to take pictures of Long Beach Harbor? So, here's my brainstorm I'm just having. We could organize the same thing down in Long Beach, but have a group where we're all taking pictures, like a bunch of tourists, but we can also now take pictures of each other and also take pictures of us discussing these matters with the Long Beach Harbor Police.
That would be great.
It'd be great publicity.
Absolutely.
Gosh, I'll send you a few things.
Yes, please. I actually, I have a few friends on YouTube that do what's called First Amendment audits, where they go around to police departments, certain government facilities, etc., to take pictures and see how the police will respond, to see if they'll be respectful.
I didn't try to take a selfie with me and but as soon as I saw that, they scattered.
Right, of course. Well, yeah, those types of Terry stops need to stop. Because they are, again, an infringement upon your inalienable right to be out there freely taking pictures, and that's your right, your freedom of speech, that's protected by the First Amendment, etc. So a constitutional government would, of course, respect that. We do not have a constitutional government anymore. We, again, have a rule by law.
Or something like this
law.
It's basically free publicity. I mean, you don't. All you got to do is go down there with your. Now, of course, you can have your smartphones and whatever.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing.
I have a video on YouTube that has about 1 million+ views, and that's because.
Well, there you go.
I was pulled over by police officers driving on the freeway and pretty much told them that they didn't have to have the authority to pull me over.
Was it monetized?
No, sir.
No.
YouTube changed their rules. I can't monetize any videos, nor am I looking to really.
Any videos?
What's that?
You can't monetize any more videos?
I can't monetize at all. I'm still waiting to be approved.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
been months now. Because first you have to get so many viewers, then you have to get so many views, then you have to submit your channel for approval. So it's all becoming bureaucratic.
There's commercials on there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
You would think, I would think if anything, it would have gained me more publicity as a candidate by now, but it is not. And that simply, again, is because I would be perceived as a threat to the establishment, and so it takes mediums such as social media to help spread the message. So, of course, anything that you can do to help share any of my videos, my posts on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc., it definitely helps me, of course, as well as speaking to your friends and family. So anything and everything to help me spread the word. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, apparently you haven't gotten the endorsement in Los Angeles County, the Libertarian Party of Los Angeles County?
No, I have not yet. I'm not sure when they have their
Next week.
It's going
When
to
they
be next
visit.
Monday
Okay.
Philippe's.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know where Philippe's is downtown?
No, I do not.
Okay, go up, what is that?
Across from Union Station.
Crossing, what street is that? Alameda. Yeah, go to Alameda, what
I mean,
part
I
of
can
town you
always
coming from?
GPS it. I live out in Orange County, my man.
Oh.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. I'll
that's
just
good.
Google it or
We're
something.
southern,
Yeah. But yeah, if their business meeting is Monday, I'll contact.
dinner.
All right.
Good French dip sandwiches.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, yeah, if they're having their business meeting.
LPLAC.
Call Jose and he can give you a
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The convention is, what's that, in March, right?
April.
For the party?
April.
April, huh?
Yeah, the Libertarian Party convention is in April. Are you all members of the party?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I'm looking for delegates to be there for me to help support my campaign so I can win the party's nomination. Yeah, so far it's looking good. The convention is going to be April 27th through the 29th. I believe they're going to have a debate scheduled between myself and the other gubernatorial candidates that weekend. So, and then afterwards, again, vote and get the delegate count for the nomination. So, if you guys,
for getting on the ballot?
the deadline for me to get on the ballot is March 7th. So right now, I have a money bomb to fundraise $5,000. My filing fee is $4,000, and the other $1,000 is help to, of course, kickstart the campaign and help me be able to continue my outreach efforts. So, but my filing fee itself is nearly $4,000. I was able to petition for signatures to reduce that fee, but I wasn't able to get the 10,000 signatures needed to cover the entire filing fee.
It's hard going on some of those.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And people that really don't want to sign petitions. As much as my wife and I were out
Oh, my
there,
goodness.
you know, standing outside of Walmart and other places
I got signatures for Mimi.
Oh,
Mimi
okay.
Robson.
Great.
And yeah, no, you probably have to approach 10 people at least to get one signature.
Exactly.
It's more than
Yeah.
that, I would say. It's probably
yeah.
closer to 20 or even more
Yeah.
sometimes.
And as much as many volunteers that I had assisted me with the petitioning, you know, I would say my wife and I, we were pretty much out there doing it ourselves as well to help with that process. So we weren't able to get the amount again to cover the entire filing fee, which is why I'm now in need of compensating for the rest. I've pretty much been working full time on campaigning, and it's just my wife and I. This is my wife, by the way, Krista
I'm
Wildstar.
sure they all met me before.
We actually just celebrated our 6th anniversary yesterday.
6th year
Yeah,
anniversary
6
yesterday.
years. So,
Congratulations.
Oh, thank
very
you.
much. So, we've pretty much just been hardcore on the campaign trail. No stop for sleep at all. And these next 2 weeks, that's what I'll be doing, is pounding the pavement. Hardcore, I'll be doing phone banking myself tomorrow, along with a few volunteers that I have helping. So if you guys also want to help with the phone banking, I am in need of volunteers. So any way that you guys can help, if you'd like to, like I said, the main way, of course, is just to help spread the message about my campaign. But if you'd like to volunteer by donating money and or time as a
Oh,
volunteer,
do you have PayPal?
I do. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
well, that makes it.
Yeah, on my
That makes
website.
it painless.
Yeah, on my website I have all available
Okay. I'll
methods.
make sure I give you some money.
Oh, great! Thank you so much. Yeah, it's PayPal. I have a GoFundMe and CrowdPack. That's actually the best way to donate because CrowdPack gives me all of the donation versus everyone else wants to take a cut.
CrowdPack.
Yeah.
I remember that.
CrowdPack. Yeah.
And
Not to mention,
they'll take credit cards through there.
yes, sir. And they are also the only one that is FPPC compliant with the Fair Practice Political Committee. So it's
Fair Political Practices Commission.
exactly because it's compliant with the Elections Committee. It makes it easier for me. With,
What's the name again? It's Fair Pack. No, what was
Crowd
it?
pack.
Crowd pack. Crowd pack.
Yeah.
Crowd pack.
Yeah, if you go to my website, as soon as you click on the website, there's a donate button. You click that, and it'll take you right to the crowd pack. But yes, of course, if you could please just tell a friend, as many friends as possible, family members, that definitely helps.
This is nice and professionally done.
Oh, thank you very much. These were actually made for me by volunteers. We have a libertarian volunteer in Nigeria who actually did the artwork for the cards. So it's an international effort here, what we're doing. Again, I have bumper stickers as well. You guys are welcome to take that, as well as a lawn sign. I have those.
And by the way, the tax on the cannabis was the first legal cannabis I ever bought after 50 years of doing it in a more honest way on the black market. It was 34.5%.
Wow. Are you kidding me?
This isn't kidding. That's my receipt.
And you get a receipt for it too.
Yeah, I get a receipt. Hey, I wonder if I can write it off from my federal income tax.
It's a drug, the government says so.
Yeah, that's true. You may be able to. But it's a shame because you shouldn't be taxed for that at all. I mean, it's definitely even more proof that government is taking control where it shouldn't. And a cash crop, marijuana shouldn't be one of those. You can grow it yourself, anyone can, but yet they're being restricted from doing so. In order to even obtain a license, there's, I believe it's $1,800 or something like that. It's thousands of dollars to get a license to be able to sell in the state of California. Not to mention open the business, farming. This is putting a lot of farmers up north out of business, small farmers that are looking to, wanting to get into the industry because they're having sort of environmental fees as well that cost thousands of dollars. Water usage. This is all factored into their expenses when trying to operate the business. There's actually one out of Desert Valley, I believe, that is started by a group of veterans. And they chose to do so themselves and, you know, create a building to employ veterans as well as create and generate a source of income to help out veterans in need. So there's ways to where if government got out of it completely, it could actually solve the problems, the financial problems of the communities, you know? Give them an opportunity to grow and expand. That's what prosperity is all about. And government can't fix that and manufacture it. That's what it's been attempting to do, and it's been failing this whole time. So we just need somebody to be honest, such as myself, to say, hey, we can't do it, we're not going to try. And as a libertarian, I feel great to be able to do so because that's exactly what the party is all about. Minimizing government and maximizing freedom. And I believe that we do need someone that's brave, that's going to be up there and say those things, to be that spokesman, to awaken the masses to the ways that they're being constricted and restricted as citizens. So, again, thank you all for your time. If you any more questions, anybody?
Yeah, a couple more.
Okay.
When is the California primary in June 6th?
It's June 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the top two primary, like I said, if no one shows up to the polls, which could very well happen since, you know, the off presidential elections pretty much end up resulting in an extremely lower voter turnout. So because that's expected to happen this time around, and because Jerry Brown isn't running, you know, you have unpopular Democratic candidates, unpopular and unfavorable Republican candidates running.
Largely unknown.
Largely unknown, definitely. It's a great possibility that you again can have a runoff between Gavin Newsom, the lieutenant governor who's a Democrat, and Antonio Villaraigosa, the ex-mayor of Los Angeles, who's also a Democrat. So if they end up proceeding and winning the majority in the June 5th primary, they'll be the only two that we all get to choose from in the November general election. So
We can write you in.
I would love that,
Yeah,
but
that's
you
what I was
know,
saying. Yeah, right in.
I would
Yeah.
love to run as a printed candidate on the ballot. Only because I'm going to be able to be more effective. I've thankfully been able to pay my candidate statement fee, which was $2,200. They were charging me $25 a word just to get a statement in the voters booklet that's going to be mailed out in a few weeks. So my paragraph ended up being $2,200 grand total. And even though I have that paid, if I don't pay the filing fee, then that's null and void. But if I do have it paid, then now I'll be on the ballot. When voters go to look in their voters handbook, they'll see me, they'll see a picture, they'll have the printed paragraph, and hopefully be more inspired to vote Libertarian. And that's what we're hoping, is if we can get a strong, viable Libertarian candidate on the ballot in that June 5th primary, then a lot of people will vote Libertarian. All of those people that are disgruntled with the top two parties, they'll be more inclined to vote for a third party candidate, especially if they aren't inspired to do so or have no knowledge of the other candidates. You also have over 30% undecided voters in the state, as well as independents and, nonpartisan. So if we can get all of those people to the polls, my goal is if I can get 1 million votes in the June 5th primary, I can proceed to the November election, which is a great possibility because in the last gubernatorial race, you had Jerry Brown, who racked up a little bit over 1 million votes, but his Republican opponent only had 800,000 votes. So that was then, before Trump. Factor in Trump, and now you probably have the Republican candidate getting about 500,000 votes or so.
If there was more Republicans there, they would dilute their strength.
And that's what could also happen. It's because you have the two Republicans running on that ticket that are very favorable. They could end up, or actually now three. You got Doug Oates. Yeah.
The more candidates that are on there, and if there's not, is Gail running for governor? Or Gail's running for governor.
Yeah, Gail.
Yeah, like
Lightfoot, she's running for Secretary of State.
Secretary of State. Okay, good. Okay, so you're not competing with her.
No.
Okay, good. Okay, see here, the more of the other parties that run, if we don't run proportionally, they're going to split their strength.
Exactly.
And you could conceivably, especially if you've got there's 2 or 3 Democrats, well, you could steal African American constituency or a good chunk from them. And besides that, I don't know a whole lot of black dudes that like having to risk driving across town to deal with the cops.
Right. Exactly.
And,
well, I'll say one thing.
and
you put me on TV or in the newspapers, if more black people saw me, I would definitely win. Trust me, without a doubt.
And the conservatives, they're not going to vote for a Democrat.
No,
and it's not going to hold. Being black's not going to hold back a conservative if it's between a black Republican and a. Well, it depends. Some of them, the dirty secret about some of the conservatives is that some of them would probably, and Democrats probably would rather have a Democrat or a Republican rather than a Libertarian. But a good number of them, they would never vote for Democrat. And if there's not a Republican, but there'd probably be Republicans there. But you could take from them because.
Oh yes, definitely. Especially being a person of color, I'd be able to relate to the majority of Californians that are people of color, especially our Hispanic community that are in fear of being deported. As a constitutionalist, I'll let them know, hey, if you elect me as governor, I will uphold the United States Constitution. And per the law, it says you have every right to be here. So I definitely believe I'll be able to win over their support as well. And with there being over nearly 250,000 registered libertarians in the state, if we can get all of those registered libertarians to vote, plus those undecided voters, everyone else that's on the fence, then we can definitely end up again stealing this election. It's a great possibility. We just again need to have an actual libertarian candidate that is on the ballot. Sure.
You've had jobs, you have a business, you're much more in touch with the rest of us out here who aren't career politicians.
Oh,
So you
thank-
have that going for you.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's another great thing. Another great part that I've received from the public is I'm not a career politician. I'm not some, well-polished, oiled-up candidate that, it's a well-oiled machine. That's what they're expecting. That's what the Republican and Democratic Party does. Is they, get these candidates and they prop them up to pretty much be those representatives that they think we the people want, and they aren't. The majority of the people that I've spoken with when I was petitioning for signatures, I asked them, do you even know of any of the candidates running for governor? And the majority of them did not. And even when they met me, I'm asking them for their signature to run for governor, and they're like, why would I, vote for you or support you? I'm like, and I don't know you. I'm like, well, you know me now. And this is an opportunity to be introduced to the person that will be representing you.
You should point that up, that you come from the real world.
Oh, yes,
You've
absolutely.
been an employee and you've been a boss.
Exactly, yes indeed. And I think having both perspectives makes me a lot more attractive than every other candidate that, of course, especially the Democratic candidates that want to do their best to supposedly help people in the inner cities and the middle class voters. Because realistically, they're not, especially with adding more taxes on top of taxes on top of taxes. If they're going to continue to tax and spend, then it's going to put us more in debt as well as future generations. And that trend needs to end. And I definitely will fight to end that trend.
What gets me is all the Democrats, they're all for gun control. It's very often even minority candidates for gun control. And who's that going to be enforced against predominantly? That's going to be enforced predominantly against minorities.
Of course.
At Bloomberg and Giuliani's stop and frisk in New York, well, that was predominantly to go after, quote, illegal guns. And guess who got jacked up on that? Well, it was mainly blacks and then secondly Puerto Ricans were the ones who got jacked up. And unfortunately, a lot of the representatives there, they all voted for all the gun control laws that
even the gun control laws in the state of California came as a result from the Black Panther movement. Arming themselves.
Who signed the bill?
Reagan, that was Reagan. Yeah, that was. No, I thought that was a good move. Marching on the state capitol. Unfortunately, the conservatives were way too eager to sell out the Second Amendment.
Exactly. And again, as a sworn representative to uphold the United States Constitution, I will be unwavering in doing so. So there will be no compromise to the Second Amendment whatsoever. I would veto any legislation that came across my desk that would infringe upon that right whatsoever. And I would do my best to even support bringing back constitutional carry of your protection of self. It's crazy because even back then they talk about them protecting themselves with muskets, but why were they even wanting to protect themselves? That's because they had, pillaging ran rampant at that time, but you also had threats from outside invaders. So it was unheard of to not have a well-trained and armed public.
It was more sparsely populated then too, so if you're going to travel from town to town, and it was very often through the wilderness.
There's a possibility you could get robbed.
Yeah, well, even today, that can happen.
Even today, especially, yeah. And now those people that infringe those rights happen to wear costumes and claim to have authority to do so.
Is that those kind of laws open up the door to further civil liberties infringements. Like the whole stop and frisk thing that they had in New York, and there are people who would do that here. That was to enforce laws against concealed carry. So if you had concealed carry, you wouldn't have any excuse for stop and frisk.
Right. It's awful how the media sensationalizes these incidents with guns to kind of rally people to want to give up that right. And they typically do happen to target the people of minority communities. You know,
It ultimately gets targeted.
yeah, whether it be a minority of skin color or a minority of class.
Yeah.
So again, the media targets those individuals, uses that incident, that situation to again take away all of our rights. That definitely should not be.
It's like force goes towards the weakest point, the ones that are least able to resist it and fight it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the force will go. It's like force is cowardly very often because they don't want to mess with somebody who can lawyer up $100,000
Right.
worth of lawyers. They want somebody who can't even afford bail.
Yeah, or a galvanized collective. You
Yeah.
know, they definitely don't want to imply force on people that have, you know, assembled themselves to resist.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is. At this moment, it may not seem as such, but it is exactly that. It's a collective of the resistance. And I am very thankful to be here and be a part of that as well, because I feel like I need to show my mettle right now more than ever if I want to protect my future with my wife. You know, if we want to expand on our family, we don't have children right now, but we would love to. But we don't want to raise a child in an environment where they're constantly under threat, you know, whether it be physically, financially, emotionally, you know, whatever the case may be. It seems like government is always posing a threat in every facet of our lives, especially with mental health.
Yeah, I want to get a little more on your money situation. You said that you were able to get able to pay your filing fee.
The candidate statement fee. Yeah.
Kind of statement fee.
Yes.
It was a good thing to pay for that. That goes to all the voters. It's probably your best exposure. You'll get the best deal on exposure, you know, aside from being able to mail to everybody in the state of California, which you can afford that.
Right.
But where are you now on your candidate filing fee?
0. That's why I'm doing the money bot.
Oh, I see. So yeah, that's $4,000.
$4,000. So the money bomb right now is 0 to 5,000 between now and March 1st. Yes, we're trying to raise the funds by the 1st, of course. That way we have a little buffer to actually file. But if need be, it probably will be extended to the 5th because again, the dues have to be paid in full by the 7th. So. Most likely, again, by the 1st, we'll have an idea where we are, in which case we'll probably shoot for another 72-hour money
How
bomb.
many signatures on the little filing do you need?
It's done.
Oh, it's done.
Yeah, thankfully with what you said and along with, you know, what we've been able to collect, that probably took off $100 or so. You know, yeah. So the cutoff for that was February 7th. So between February 7th and March 7th, every candidate has to pay the difference of what's due, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been able to, I'll actually get the final amount of what's due tomorrow since the elections office was closed today. But once I get that final amount due tomorrow, then most likely, like I said, I'll still owe in the neighborhood of around $3,800.
$3,800.
Yeah. Yeah.
A question.
Yes, sir.
You done research on your Libertarian opponent,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Zoltan? Or
Oh, yes, definitely.
What's among friends? You know, what's the deal on him? Is he serious, or
Not at all.
does he have any kind of a basis at all?
No. I believe Mr. S. Van is using the party's platform in particular to promote the transhumanism ideas. And because transhumanism as a philosophy conflicts with libertarianism as a philosophy, we don't really see eye to eye. So he's not seeking the Libertarian Party's endorsement at all, but he still will be at the party's convention in April. I don't know why if he's not seeking the party's nomination, but again, he will be president. So
Transhuman, that's like a cyborg, like, is that what we're talking about? Or we're talking about, like...
I didn't call him the cyborg, somebody else
Or are we
did.
talking about talking